Ta-da! And welcome to Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room, which of course are over there. But in the meantime, we've got an interesting one today. Boxes. What the heck are we doing with all these things?
Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe to any of my videos. I just put them out there where I can and have a holly jolly great time doing so. A video that is going to be more mixed up than stir-fried rice. Yes, it's definitely going to be a quick one. I promise you. Well, as you well know, I certainly have something about boxes. I keep the boxes to everything. You just never do know, do you? Up until including my very first orange juicer. I purchased that for I think about $10. All stainless steel, very nice. I still have the original box. The actual juicer itself got a little bit destroyed. I still have the box. What am I gonna do with it? I don't know. And as we can see in this quick picture here, I really do keep boxes for everything. Many of the things are no longer with me. However, in this particular application, aside from the toy ones, which we've built this wonderful museum dedicated to my lifelong passion, I just want to talk today more so to the model railway community, and in which case, what is it that we are doing with our model railway boxes? I'm talking about boxes like this. Whether it's a premium weathered model that you've paid hundreds of dollars for, or maybe it's the more budget conscious railroad version of something, it doesn't really matter. What are we going to do with it? Because often when we see the YouTube videos, channels like Well Chuffed and the alike are off to model railway shows and then they're finding great bargains. And most of the time, our trains still have the box. Now that's good and well, because like me, I like to think in the future, what happens when I pass on? Someone can put the locomotive or the rolling stock back in the box and they can sell it and probably fetch a better penny if it still has its original box with all the original make, serial number, and exactly what it was manufactured and the rest of it. And for the rest of us that have decided that living is a pretty good thing and we're going to get on with life, well, what do we do in the meantime? It's a serious thing we need to have a chat about, and really, at the end of the video, I don't have the answer. But I'm hoping someone can tell me their thoughts on what exactly are we doing with all these boxes.
Look, it's a serious matter. Look, I need to ask the question to all of you that run a model railway. What are you doing with the trains? For the most part, with a fiddle yard or what have you, once we get down to the lower level, I'll be able to store some of the key things I'm using, i.e. these locomotives will probably permanently be sitting under there. In the meantime though, I'm not going to be running the layout for probably at least the next 6 to 12 months as we carry on with construction. But what do we do with the locomotives? As you've seen in an earlier video, I've got some tremendous drawers to the left of me that have all been lined with a nice felt inside of them. So you can quite happily stick the locomotives in there. And I keep the boxes at the back of the drawer. But for the most time, when I'm not using them, I decide to place them back into the original boxes. And as you can see, as we put this particular set from the Master Cutler Coaches set away, I'm reloading them in box by box. This particular one, which is the buffet car, which in the set or selling individually at its time would have been at least $130, and I'm sure it's worth a lot more now. The problem with some of the more explicit locomotives and rolling stock is that they're delicate. Now, I'm trying to do the right thing by putting it back in the box. As I've done so, one of the running boards has come off, which would be sitting between the bogie there. Could be a simple enough repair, I'm not denying that. And in a world where we're supposed to be getting rid of plastic, it's hard to believe there's so much more. But every time I seem to be handling them, it seems to get harder and harder to try not to, like here with the coupling, which has gone into the up position at the moment and decided to get stuck up in the corridor. It's getting harder and harder for me not to somehow make a mistake. Although, let's be fair, every time I enter this room there seems to be a mistake. Just ask any one of my family members. So we'll sit that in there, and we may well glue that back together at a later point in time. So it takes me, what you're seeing here, almost an hour to pack away some of the stuff, and we still have plenty more we need to be packing up, including all my tankers. I understand if you're going to shows, you may well carry them like this, or you'll build custom aluminium cases that are lined to store them in which I bring you back again to my drawers, which it's a perfect place to shut them. Shut the drawer, keep all the dust off, and they're fine. But of course, every time we keep putting them back into the boxes and sliding them in and out, we are causing more stress around the edges of our boxes. As you can see, particularly with this one, things are starting to really look quite used from the entry and exit points. Do I need to be doing this? What's the general vibe with doing such a thing? And also at the same time, one of my absolute favorite locomotives has to be this Class 08 from Hornby. It's weathered, it's DCC chipped, it's one of my absolute favorites, and the detail is truly explicit, up to and including I even have a driver inside giving us a bit of a howdy doody to the crew regarding what have you. My point is, it's one of these few locomotives where I'm never quite sure where I'm supposed to touch it, because there's so many fine details that can snap and break off. I'm never really quite sure the best way to handle it. So sometimes I think just leaving it on the track is always a good thing. And what I particularly do, because I use this one a lot for testing, this has been my go-to. In fact, it's probably my first and oldest DCC locomotive that I have. And even though it would at least be more than 20 years old, I'm always impressed with the overall presentation of this model. And through its entire journey, it has never really gone back in that box. It sits with the box behind it and sits in the drawers, sitting wheels up. Is this right or is this wrong? I would love to know. So again, we'll start with this drawer at the moment, and you can see they're nicely laid with that beautiful, nice, soft felt in there. And we would just pop them away accordingly. As you can see at the back, we obviously have some additional coaches I forgot I even had, but we have 8 of those at the moment, so we'll see what may happen there in the future. And as you can see, we have been a little bit busy collecting some of the suburban BR blues, and that's going to be featured in a special video coming up, which I'm looking forward in a light-hearted video to chat about. And as we return now, a top tip regarding the boxes, see how it's bent at the top here from opening it, from sticking your finger in here? Don't do it that way. This is not the way you should be doing this. My preferred method is, of course, just taking some sort of like a steel ruler or something flat and stiff like this. And of course, what we're going to do is slide it in and carefully just bring it in. Give it a little bit of a twist, and the box will pop and you will have a nice straight line. So much so, let's take a brand new model, which will be talked about in a future video. Don't despair if you don't know much about this one yet. But this box has never been opened, so as a result, we're going to take the steel ruler. We'll give it a little jiggle in there. Just remember the other bit's going the opposite way. And of course, once we find the little opening bit where it needs to be, a little gentle pry, and you'll notice that it will come up nice and evenly. And look at that edge, nice and straight. That's exactly what we want to do to preserve the boxes. So at least we've learnt something in this particular video. Flat as a tack. Beautiful.
And just like my camera angles, things can change, and sometimes not for the better. I also want to share one of my grand disasters, which just so happened to be only a few weeks ago when I walked in the room and an almighty smell. I thought it was from our bioluminescence display, and perhaps the resin still needed time to dry or something. I really wasn't too sure. But needless to say...
And here's the culprit here, some MIG fresh engine oil. Unfortunately, the lid wasn't on the right way and the bottle was slightly askew. Whew, and it smelt worse than postman's feet. But don't despair,
because I just quickly trimmed up a little bit of core flue. I scrubbed it the best I could. I also resealed the drawer. Nothing had leaked or anything like that. It was just a little bit of a mess. And we're just simply took a little bit of timber, a quick lick of paint, and once again, this time we're not going to glue in the little bits of 90 degree. We're just going to slide them in and just stack everything on. This is an enclosed frame, so we don't have to worry like the previous one in locking it down. It's not going to go anywhere. And then it's just a simple matter of just loading that drawer back up again. And just pay attention here, let's not make the same mistake again. We're going to keep these particular oils and effects that are a little bit volatile, or dangerous in my case, into an airtight, sealed, waterproof container, because we're not going to end up with this pong in the house again. Cue the music.
Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I would really like to thank you so much for joining me on another one of my little adventures. Is this just a little bit of a cheap shot? Maybe so. Maybe I'm buying time on another project. But realistically, there are a handful of videos that I do have that I'm trying to get out to share with you because I'm not quite sure how to handle it. And sometimes posting a message in a forum or something like that really isn't quite getting to the crux of the problem. So that's why I thought I might just share it in this direction. Let's be 100% fair. If it wasn't for the video earlier in the season trying to get help with my particular station, which we're still waiting on a video on, well, we wouldn't have had it. But needless to say, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do stay safe, and I'll look forward to seeing you in that next one. Toodles!